Alright everyone, welcome back to another Chit Chat with Cass episode. Today I am joined by a special guest. My mom is here with us again. Hello.
Hello.
So she did a Christmas podcast with me, obviously back in December, and I convinced her to do this little interesting podcast episode today. Are you excited?
Very much so.
Very much so. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting idea that I came up with. So for the last few years, conspiracies have literally swarmed the internet. It's like such a huge thing in the online community. I myself have kept up with a lot of these conspiracy theories. I listen to podcasts, I read different sites, and of course those YouTubers that do all of the conspiracy theories. So I keep up with it. It's safe to say that I've heard a lot of the theories, the crazy and the normal ones, but my mom, on the other hand, has not. Right?
Right.
Now, I've told you some conspiracy type things, but you haven't really dove into conspiracy theories.
No.
You don't listen to podcasts or watch the YouTube videos or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
So this episode is really going to be me introducing you to some pretty popular conspiracy theories, and getting your reaction and showing you why people think it's true, why people think it's bullshit, and all that jazz relating to conspiracy theories. Alrighty?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you like weird stuff, right? Like me. You're into, unexplained or creepy, paranormal, stuff like that, too. So, some of these conspiracies might grab you a little bit. Because I like weird shit. And that's why I find some of these to be fascinating. Now, conspiracies can be super silly and stupid, there's no way that's true, or they can go to the completely other end of things and be scary and dude, that's dark, if you think about it. So I tried to do a mix of them for you to kind of get just, some of them are fun, some of them are whoa, that makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty? Alright, so I'm just going to dive right in and introduce my mom to the world of conspiracy theories, guys. So if you have any questions, as I'm doing my spiel about all these, just let me know.
Okay.
And I have pictures and stuff to show you as well, as evidence. Evidence.
How do we know the pictures are real?
This is true. Yes, you're already on the right track. Yes, because you have to think like that. Have they been edited? Is someone just full of shit? You have to think that way. Okay, so we're going to start with one that I find very interesting, and it's called the Forever 27 Club. You heard of this?
No.
Okay, so the 27 Club is basically a list of celebrities. It's mostly musicians, but there are some actors in there as well. They've all died at 27. Now, their deaths are all different. It's not the same cause of death or anything. They don't die in the same way. Some are murders, some are accidents, suicides, and so on. They're all different. But the only common thing is they all died at 27. That little magic number of the 27 Club, right? So there are a lot of names on this list that people include when you really dive into this theory. There's a bunch of different names, various lists online you can pull up, but I'm just going to name some of the more well-known people here for you that I think that you would probably know, okay? So this club is said to have started with Robert Johnson. He was a blues legend that died in 1938, so you might not know his name, but he's supposed to be the one that started this club. A lot of his songs relate to hellhounds, the devil, and other darker themes, and he was poisoned. Died at 27, okay? American rock star Jimi Hendrix also died at 27 in 1970. I believe his death was a result of drugs and alcohol overdose. The singer Janis Joplin died in 1970 as well, and she died from an accidental heroin overdose. Singer from The Doors, Jim Morrison, died in 1979. He died from heart failure due to drug use. Nirvana singer Kurt Cobain died in 1994. He committed suicide. English singer Amy Winehouse died in 2011. I believe drinking was the main cause of her death, I believe. Some people even include Jonathan Brandis in this club. He was an actor. He was actually one of the kids from the original It.
Okay.
Like the first half, one of the kids, he killed himself at 27 in 2003. And more recently, Anton Yelkin, that's Chekhov from the new Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
He tragically died accidentally in 2015 from a car. His car rolled into him and killed him tragically. And he was also 27. Like I said, there's like a bunch of other musicians and people that are included in this list, but those are some of the main big ones that people put in this conspiracy of the 27 Club. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've never heard about that at all.
It's a more newer theory for me. I hadn't heard about it. I had obviously heard that, like, you know, I knew that Amy Winehouse had died and Kurt Cobain and all these people had died young. I didn't know they were all the same age. It's a more recent theory that I discovered. So, while there are a few theories as to why this happens, the most interesting conspiracy, I think, is the idea of a pact. One of those you sold your soul pact idea that you like see in entertainment, right? You see stories in books, shows, movies, the idea that someone sold their soul for fame or talent and then only had a few years left or, you know, had to give it up at 27.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I said, there's a lot of different theories on why this whole thing is, but I find that one to be the most interesting. Like, made the pact for fame, and then once you hit 27, that's all you get.
Right.
So, as I said, sold their soul and was given only a certain amount of time for their fame and talent. That's my favorite idea of it. And I don't know if it's because I'm like, you've seen movies about that, you've seen TV shows, you know, I think it's a more well-known idea. Maybe that's why I like it for this theory.
Right.
You could say. But there are other theories as to why this whole thing, right?
Under that line, it's almost kind of like the movie Death Becomes Her, where they go to the lady and she gives them a serum and then they last forever.
They do, but they don't die. Like, okay, that is a good point though, because like they would have to disappear or fake their death. In that movie, mm-hmm. Those people fake their death. Like they show Elvis, he faked his death, Marilyn Monroe faked her death, that type of thing.
Right.
So it kind of goes with that.
Right.
It kind of goes. And then I thought, wasn't there like a movie with like Brendan Fraser or something like that where he sells his soul? I don't know. It's probably a really bad 90s movie. But anyway, so there's other theories as to why this happens. Some people relate it to astrology or Saturn, like things like that, like the astrology coming back and circling, and so these people's time was up. I don't really get into astrology, so I have no further details on that.
Right.
But a lot of people relate this 27 Club to astrology. And numerology has also been looked into, like depending on when they were born and like the month they died and things of that nature. And then there's more logical ideas, of course. Most of these people did lead risky lifestyles. You know, like the rock and roll type of thing with drugs, alcohol, and so on. So as a result, it's safe to say that their deaths, you know, could have just been a coincidence because they led this risky lifestyle.
Right.
And you do see that with most of them, like there was alcohol or drugs or kind of involved with it.
They might like try to take stuff because if you're tired, you need to take something to put you up, and then you can't sleep at night, so you put something, and then they get in that kind of back and forth.
There's a lot of celebrities that do that,
that you know can be where you accidentally could have taken too much of something.
And I think that's like the main thing with Janis Joplin is a lot of people say like it was just an accidental heroin overdose. Like there was no sign that she was like suicidal or anything.
Right.
But so that's like the more obviously the logical side to it is that it's just a coincidence that these people, and then of course the more logical people say, well, I say more logical, but I really like this theory, but why isn't there more celebrities in this club then? You know, the list is long, but I read off the big names. Mm-hmm. Those are the big names within this list, so why aren't there more? I kind of think like it would be like, well, only some of them sold their soul. That's why they're in the club. Not every celebrity sold their soul.
That could be.
I don't know. That's my theory. I thought that this was extremely interesting. And there's like a bunch of different theories and like conspiracies among some of these deaths anyway. Like Kurt Cobain, he has his whole own list of conspiracy theories on his death.
Yeah.
There's a bunch.
There's always been questions that are found and other things that have come up and come to light that people have said about or whatever.
Yes, especially, I mean, he has some super fans. Like, Nirvana had quite the following.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of questions on if he actually committed suicide or not. But I just thought it was very interesting that they were all 27. And it's like an interesting number. I don't know. I found it to be interesting. Do you find this theory interesting?
Yeah, because I had never heard of it. I know just about everybody you listed except for a couple. And that, it does make you stop and think and, wonder.
It's interesting. And it's also interesting that it's like there are some actors in it, but it's mostly musicians. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like that's, if you look into older music, you kind of hear that a little bit. Musicians singing about selling their soul or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In older music, like going back to like the blues stuff with Robert Johnson, the guy that was supposed to start this club in 1938.
Right.
And he was a blues singer, and he, like I said, he sang about kind of this stuff, hellhounds and the devil and darker themes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But like things of this nature have been like, storylines have been on like Supernatural, and I know there were some Charmed episodes that were like that.
Yeah. Things
like that. So it's a familiar theme. But I just found it interesting.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next theory. Ooh, it's a fun one, and I know you know kind of a little bit about this because I've told you about it before, okay? So, it's the Mandela Effect.
This trips me out.
So,
I had not heard about it until you told me about it a few years ago, and then we keep finding more, and you'll hear more, and you keep telling me about it. I'm like, no, that's not that way, and then you'll show me, and I'm like, what?
Exactly. So yes, I did introduce this to her. She's not new to it today, but she didn't know about it a couple years ago. I jotted down some of like popular ones just to chat about here real quick. But for those of you listening, if you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, it's trippy as fuck, okay? So basically, where most people remember an event or a certain thing a certain way, when in reality it turns out to be incorrect. That's what the Mandela Effect is. And the name comes from Nelson Mandela. Many people remember him dying in prison in the 80s, but in reality, Nelson Mandela died December 5th, 2013. And so that's what created the Mandela Effect, is so many people remember him dying in prison, but in reality, he lived until 2013. That's where the name comes from. Okay, so, and you said you remember me telling you about this.
Yes.
So, a lot of people say, are these people's memories just bad? Are they just confused? Their memory's bad? More interesting is, are we in a parallel universe where things would be similar, but just off kilter a little bit, right?
Right.
So that it's different than like, wait a second. Or did time travelers go back or forward and screw something up that switches it? So that on the original timeline, we have one memory. But then Marty McFly went back and screwed it up. And so then we have, it like splits off.
Right.
Like to a different line off the main timeline. That's some of the people, the ideas, right? Curious and curiouser.
Exactly.
Okay, so some of the popular Mandela effects that I thought we should talk about was Oscar Mayer. I don't know, now this one might be different for you because of our age difference. Many people remember it spelled M-E-Y-E-R, when in fact it's spelled M-A-Y-E-R. Now, the song is like a big thing for, like, I think your generation, right? And I have this picture here where people remember it with an E, but in reality it's an A.
See, I remember it with an E.
You do remember it with an E?
I do remember it with an E.
But, like, but that song, so you sing it like My Baloney Has a First Name?
Yeah.
That song, you sing it with an E?
Uh-huh.
Right? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Many people remember with an E, but it's actually spelled with an A.
No, see, I remember it with the E.
So do I. Mind trip. I thought that one might be different for us because
You sure they just didn't change the name to mess with people? To see if people would notice
That's what Mandela Effects are. They're actually just fucking with everyone, the companies. Oh, that would be mean! That would be so mean. Okay, so that's interesting because I actually think Dad said he knows it as an A.
Really?
But you say you remember with an E. So it's different for everyone, and you guys are in the same age group.
Yep.
So I thought it might be different with different generations.
Right.
Curious. All right. Next up, we have the New York show starring 4 women that neither one of us watch, but that's okay. So many people remember it as Sex in the City.
Sex in the City, yeah.
But it apparently is Sex and the City.
And the City? No, Sex in the City.
No, Sex in the City.
That's the way I've heard.
That's what it's always been.
Right.
Liars. I think I actually have. Someone claims that this is a fan thing that they have.
Uh-huh.
Like a DVD case or something.
Uh-huh.
And it says Sex in the City.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's like I think it's a perfume, maybe. But in reality, it's supposed to be Sex and the City. Now, granted, this picture could have been doctored or they could have made it. You don't know if this person faked it.
Right.
But for some of the Mandela Effects, people try to dig up proof that it used to be a different name.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously thought it was Sex and the City. I've never seen one episode of that show, but who doesn't know that show?
Yeah. Sex
and the City, not Sex and the City. It doesn't sound right.
It doesn't sound right to
me. It doesn't sound right at all. Ugh, yeah. Okay. All right. How about the Monopoly Man for like the game board?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So many people remember the Monopoly Man having a monocle on his eye, but apparently he doesn't have one. I have photo reference as well. And I'm going to include links in the description for you guys as well. If you aren't familiar with some of these Mandela Effects or conspiracy theories, I'm going to have references for you guys so you can see it visually as well. So this is... People remember him in this outfit with the top hat and everything, carrying the money with a monocle. But apparently he does not have a monocle. I thought he did. Which one do you think is right when you look at it?
I'm not sure. I can't even think or, try to remember or think. I don't know if I've paid attention to it. That I'm not sure which one.
I thought that he had the monocle, but some people do think that people might be confusing him with the Peanut Dude.
Oh.
You know how he has it?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's where people's memory's going?
It could be.
They thought?
It could be.
But part of me just looks at the one with the monocle, though, and says that it's right, and the other one doesn't look right to me.
Right.
But maybe I'm just insane.
Yeah, me looking at both of them right now, I don't remember. I don't remember which.
It's interesting. But the idea with the peanut thing, that would make more sense. Like if people are just confusing it with a different cartoon of sorts.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at our Monopoly, but I don't think our Monopoly's old enough to look and see if it has the thing or not.
I don't think so.
I do not think so. All right. Another great one. The Bernstein Bears. This is the one we've talked about.
Okay, this is one we've talked about a lot because you had their book set when you were little.
Yep.
And I swear that it's...
Okay, so this one was, like, it totally screwed up my mind, okay? So everyone remembers it as the Bernstein Bears, as in Stein, Bernstein. But it's actually the Bernstein Bears, Stain.
See, I still disagree with that.
I trip out on this one. The Bernstein Bears, not the Bernstein Bears. Oh, it trips me out. And this one, I actually dug for my books. I was like, no, what does my book say? Because I need to know what this says. And it says Bernstein.
Oh, you did find some in
I
your
found
books?
some, yes.
Okay.
I found some. But some people have also claimed that they have merchandise that, like, says Bernstein. But once again, did they doctor it? Is it edited? Or is it something that, oops, didn't get messed up in the different parallel universe time?
Yeah, I definitely remember it with an E. I just totally do.
Yeah, I checked it. I had to check my books. I was like, is it real or not? But, so the family, this, like, book series was named after a family. And they also say, they're like, nope, our name has always been Bernstein. It's never been Bernstein. But how do you know? Like, expand your mind. How do you know someone didn't go back in time and spell their name differently from their great-great-great-grandfather, and then for the rest of the line, they spelled it with an A?
It'd almost be cool to see if you could find the cartoons someplace, like a little video of the cartoons, and see what they say on them. One of the pictures online
that claims that it says Bernstein is a VHS tape.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But once again, you could make that sticker. And you have to... It's such a cool idea, but you have to think, because it's so easy to edit photos these days.
Right.
So easy to print up a label. Right. That you have to think, like, did someone just fake it?
I wonder if that's still even on any kids' channel.
I doubt it. Some of the kids' cartoons these days are stupid. None of the good stuff.
Scary looking.
They are scary looking. I'll say, I really like SpongeBob. You don't like SpongeBob, but... SpongeBob was popular when I was growing up, and it's still popular. Okay, so we have a Star Wars one. All right. So a big one is, it's a Vader line from Empire Strikes Back. It's when they're on Cloud City with Luke and Vader. Okay. Many people remember the line as, Luke, I am your father. Mm-hmm. Okay. When the line is actually, no, I am your father. Now, this one, I'm sorry to say, this one doesn't trip me out because I know the correct line. So does Dad, because we are Star Wars nerds. But it's one of the most incorrectly quoted Star Wars quotes.
Really?
Yes.
It's the first one, isn't it?
No, it's not. No,
it's the second one?
No, I am your father. It never does Vader say, Luke, I am your father. And everyone says it in TV shows, in other things.
I quote it like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's not, he doesn't say Luke. They're having a conversation and they're going back and forth. And like, he's like, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. That's the line. That's the line right there.
Okay, that goes over my head because you guys...
So that one trips you out.
Star Wars, it trips me out because I actually quote that all the time when we're watching stuff.
I want to know, like, where this one came from. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a time travel fuck up. I have no idea. But Dad and I remember it correctly. And so do other Star Wars fans. So I wonder where or when it got misquoted. That so many other sources say, Luke, I am your father. Right. There's merchandise that says that. Right. When in reality it's, no, I am your father.
I learned something new.
You learn something new every day. All right. This one is another one that messes with my mind. So the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood, you know that show, right? The TV show. Do you know the intro of it? You will.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That?
Yes! Yes! Okay? So many people remember the song as, It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. That's how I remember it. Okay? But it's actually, It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Now see that.
Nope, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. And I haven't even watched much of that show, but I know that intro, and it's not this neighborhood. Mind trip.
Mind trip.
So next up we have a Forrest Gump line. You've seen that movie, right?
Yep.
Have you seen it a couple times?
Yeah.
All right. So one of the most popular lines from that movie, okay? Life is like a box of chocolates. Right? When it's actually, life was like a box of chocolates.
Now see, I go with the first one.
The first one too. Like it's, well, I haven't seen that movie enough, but it's like, Mom always said, life is like a box of chocolates. Not life was like a box of chocolates. No, life is like.
Yeah, is like.
So with some of these ones, I'm super curious. And I've seen other, like, conspiracy theorists mention this. Like, I wonder what Tom Hanks remembers. Because he said the line in the movie. Does he remember it the correct way or the incorrect way? Granted, he's made a lot of movies, so he might not remember.
Right.
But it's curious if they would have a different memory. Curious and curiouser. I want that on a shirt.
Yeah.
Curious and
that
curiouser.
That would be cool.
This one I know we've talked about. It's from Snow White. And one is the Evil Queen, which is funny because you have my Evil Queen mug right now. That's hilarious. She's drinking tea out of my Snow White Evil Queen mug. We didn't plan that.
Nope.
So, what does the Evil Queen say when she looks into the mirror?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Incorrect. That's what I remember. Everyone remembers it, mirror, mirror on the wall. When it's actually magic mirror on the wall. Bullshit! So much lie! I remember it, mirror, mirror. Yeah. That's another thing. That's on every merchant. That's on Disney merchandise everywhere.
Yeah, very much so.
And so I YouTubed the clip. Granted, could have been edited maybe. And she says magic mirror, but we have the VHS tape somewhere.
Right.
But I doubt it would be different. But I always remembered it, mirror, mirror on the wall.
Because when she first goes up to the mirror, the face is not in the mirror. So it's like, to me, it's like she's saying, mirror, mirror, getting him to come forward
like his
to
name.
be able to see him. Yeah. And
but
then ask the question.
Magic mirror on the wall. No.
No. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Time travel! All right, guys. So there are a million other Mandela effects. I just picked a couple that I thought were interesting, but there are literally so many other Mandela effects that are so trippy and craziness. But what do you think about Mandela effects as a whole?
It's kind of trippy because you and I, not on all of them, some of them we agree on, and then some of them we remember different. And like you said, that could be that we're from different generations or whatever. But it's so, I had no idea that there was such a thing until you started telling me some of them. Yes. And like you said, there's
Thank you, Shane Dawson.
Yeah, there's like more out there. You know,
there's so many. They're like discovering more and more every day. There's a lot of them that are with product names, like the way things are spelled, or like I know there's one with like Kit Kat, I think. Like, is there a dash between the Kit Kat? Like the candy bar? Like that's one of the Mandela effects. I can't remember which one is correct, but it's like some people remember with the dash, some people remember without the dash. But there are so many other Mandela effects. Right. It is just craziness. Do you remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s? Or do you have no memory of it really? Or do you remember him dying in 2013?
I don't think I really remember.
Remember it? Yeah, you don't really think.
I don't really.
Because that's where it came from. That's where the name came from. So many people have a memory of him dying in prison. But he lived till 2013. It's weird.
Yeah.
Mandela effects are trippy. Okay, now we're moving on to one of my favorite conspiracy theories. I get into this one. It's trippy. I like it. But I don't know. Call me weird, but it's just so fascinating.
When you tell me about some of these and everything, it makes me go back to the movie National Treasure, where they say all the questions or all the answers is in the president's book.
Oh,
and it's like, it makes me just like, okay, is there really that book?
We say that all the time.
Is there really the answers to that in that president's book, so that only the presidents would know?
There's I don't think I included it in this outline, but there's a lot of JFK conspiracy theories. A lot. And a lot of people are like, that's probably in the president's book from National Treasure. Yeah. And I think they even mention it in one of the scenes. They're like flipping through the pages and they're like, oh, JFK. But they have to keep going. Yeah. But we reference that all the time.
Yes, we do.
It's definitely possible that there's some sort of book or something like that within the government that, you know, us normal folk don't get to see.
Yeah.
All right. So, this one is Titanic conspiracy theories. Dun, dun, dun. Have you heard any conspiracy theories about the Titanic?
The only one I heard, and it was because recently you and Dad were talking about it, that they said that the ship that went down wasn't actually the Titanic. It was a different one.
We're going to talk about that today. Okay. So there's some other smaller conspiracy theories. Smaller ones. Like, some people say that there was a mummy on board the Titanic with a curse. That's why the Titanic went down. That sounds a little bit Hollywood to me. But, you know, I think that's a little bit off. But, you know, who knows? Maybe there was a mummy down there. I don't know. And then other people say the Titanic was sunk to start the Federal Reserve because powerful men on board the Titanic didn't agree with the idea, so they got rid of them.
Never heard that one.
Yep, right? Okay, so then obviously the main one, like you just said, is the theory that the Titanic was actually swapped and that the ship that went down was not the Titanic. Craziness, okay? So the Titanic and the Olympic are almost identical ships from White Star Line, okay? And I'll have pictures and everything to show you, okay? The Olympic had problems on board, and it actually had a big crash. And it caused, like, big insurance problems for White Star Line because it had a crash. And I believe it, like, hit, like, a tugboat or something like that. And in turn, the ship was leaning to the left and it was, like, pretty messed up. It wasn't in prime condition, essentially, the Olympic, okay? And the theory is, like, it was too expensive to fix it because it's a pretty big boat, you know? I mean, it's the same size as the Titanic.
Right.
According to the theory, they planned to switch the Titanic and the Olympic because they would get more insurance money if the new Titanic ship sank compared to the screwed up Olympic ship. They'd get more money if the brand new shiny ship went down.
Right.
But they don't want to lose the brand new shiny ship, so let's just switch them. Okay? So the plan was to have another ship nearby to spot that the Titanic was sinking, the Californian. Okay? I think that's the name. They really did think that the ship was unsinkable. So they expected it to take hours or even days for the Titanic to go down. And they would have plenty of time to rescue all the passengers before it went down into the frigid waters. And obviously that did not happen. You know, history tells us that did not happen. So many people died for really shitty reasons on that boat. Even if you don't believe this conspiracy theory, a lot of people lost their lives on the Titanic. So, reasons why people think that this was set up. Okay? Are you following?
I'm following.
It's a lot. I like this one. Okay, so obviously this was the early 1900s, so there wasn't like cell phones everywhere or media outlets surrounding the building of a ship. So it would be harder to document a switch like that because it was like, you know, people didn't have a cell phone in their pockets.
Yeah.
And, you know, they weren't be able to document something weird going on between two ships if anyone would even truly notice. Because this is kind of a big idea to do.
Yeah.
You know, switching two ships is kind of a big deal. So other people say that they could have easily paid off the poor people that were building the ships. We'll give you some extra cash. You look the other way. Don't mention that this used to be the Olympic. And voila, you don't have anyone spreading that. Another thing, supposedly when building the Titanic, it had 14 portholes along the top of the boat. But when it set sail, it suddenly had 16 portholes. And I have a picture for you. Let's see. Here is the picture of the Titanic being built. So you can see it like up in the thingy-majigs. And this is the day the Titanic set sail. So it's talking about these up here. And you can see that not only are there less in this picture, which is the Titanic, compared to the day it set sail. Look at how close some of these are. Do you see the pattern?
Yeah.
Is completely different?
Yeah.
So this one, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it goes behind the bar, right? But you can see that the lineup of it is completely different from when it was being built to when the Titanic set sail. Sketchy. Right? Okay. Let's see. The windows on the ship also look different. The Olympic had very thin windows that were almost like unevenly spaced. They didn't like look visually pleasing. They were thin and unevenly spaced. While the Titanic had large windows that were evenly spaced. And on the day the Titanic set sail, it looks much more like the Olympic windows than the Titanic windows. And I have pictures of that as well, okay? So this is the Olympic windows. Do you see how they're much thinner and like random. It doesn't look like a pattern at all up here. And then there's Titanic windows, which are very evenly spaced. They look like squares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very evenly spaced, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is the day that the Titanic set sail. Look at the windows.
Oh my gosh.
They're skinny and unevenly spaced.
Yeah.
They don't look like the Titanic building pictures. They look like the Olympic.
I'm sitting here going, whoa.
This theory trips me out.
It's just making my brain just, whoa.
Okay. Some people reported the lifeboats read the Olympic instead of the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
What little lifeboats they had. And in some of the photos, you can see where the Titanic etched in the side of the ship actually moves places. Also. So if you look back at the... Okay, right. Okay. So if you look at where the Titanic is sketched here, the letter T is halfway between two portholes right here.
Okay.
See that?
Uh-huh.
On the day it set sail, the letter T is almost underneath the third porthole. Off to the side of the third.
Right.
And that's the same side of the ship, obviously. So the sketching was either redone or they had to rewrite the Titanic on the Olympic. Right. So that it didn't say the Olympic on the side.
Right.
But the Titanic name moved. Her face right now, you guys. This is entertaining for me. Alright, so more odd evidence with this switch, okay? So some high up, like, celebrities or, like, you know, just, like, rich people were meant to be on board the Titanic. But they ended up canceling their trip. Including JP Morgan. He actually helped finance the Titanic. So he's in on all this. If this is true, he's in on it, okay? He's all wrapped up in the theory of sinking it on purpose, basically. Okay? So, of course, he did not go on the trip. And some of his rich friends did not go on the trip.
So somebody pre-warned them.
They could have been warned, but why wouldn't you? This was the Titanic. It was like the fastest, like, unsinkable ship. Why wouldn't you want to be on board when it arrived in New York? Did all these people get sick? You can't tell me that, like, these people got, like, a refund on their ticket.
Right.
Granted, they were rich. Rich people don't care, but it's just curious that all these people didn't decided not to go that were friends with JP Morgan. Okay. The Titanic was also said to be leaning to the left on the day it left. The day it sailed away. Which is one of the problems that the Olympic had after that accident.
Right.
One of the things they didn't want to fix, one of the things, like, was wrong with the ship was it was leaning to the left. And a lot of people that went to go see the Titanic leave that day noted that the Titanic was leaning to the left, and they thought that it was odd for a new ship.
As I sit here and shaking my head like, whoa.
Her brain is going to explode, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh, okay? So, they claimed the sea was really calm that night, and they should have had plenty of visibility, okay, to see the iceberg and, like, either move out of the way or at least correct the ship's path, because it was such a cold, obviously, but it was such a chill night. Like, it wasn't stormy, it wasn't massive waves, there wasn't, like, rain, it was just a very calm night at sea. So, poses the question, did they hit it on purpose to go with the plan of sinking it on purpose?
Right.
Was that part of the idea? Okay. Now, this one trips me out, okay? The Californian was a passenger ship that had no passengers on board, but had extra sweaters and blankets on board the ship. Why do you have no passengers and extra sweaters and blankets? That trips me out. That just screams setup to me.
Yeah.
That they didn't want to cause this many casualties. They thought that the Californian would be there in time, but they didn't have anyone on the ship, so they could go rescue the people, collect the insurance money. All's good. So then let's have some extra sweaters. Let's have some extra blankets on board for these freezing poor people. That one trips me out. Like, why? Why did you have these extra things on there, and why did you have any passengers?
Yeah.
You just chilling in the Atlantic? Chilling? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, even if they were, like, I don't know which direction they were coming from. I don't know where the Californian left from. But either way, it's like, wouldn't you have some passengers going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
The extra sweaters and blankets on board is weird. All right. So, all of that weirdness, as if that wasn't enough weirdness for you with this conspiracy theory, because I like this theory, and it's too weird for me. Okay? So, to add to the weirdness of the theory, some people also claim this whole idea and setup was inspired in the book Wreck of the Titan. They claim that, like, this whole plan was inspired by this book. Okay?
Uh-huh.
This book was all about the sinking of an unsinkable ocean liner. The Wreck of the Titan was published in 1898, 14 years before the RMS Titanic was even finished being built. Both ships were around 800 feet long and sank after hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic in April around midnight. And both the Titan and the Titanic had too few lifeboats to accommodate every passenger on board.
I've never heard that one at all.
Oh yeah. That's a real book that came out in 1898. So 14 years before the Titanic was finished, this book came out with this story. And then the Titanic copies it. So is that a coincidence? A very tragic coincidence? Or did JP Morgan and all the buddies from wanting the insurance money base it off of this book? She has no answer.
I have nothing. I'm just like,
you're supposed to give me an answer. You're supposed to tell me.
No, oh, wow.
I have no idea.
I had no idea there was this many on the Titanic.
Oh, and I'm being vague. There, you can go even deeper into it. It's craziness. It is just craziness. And I don't even know if there's any Titanic survivors left. Like, if they were probably a baby on it. I don't think there is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be, I don't know. It's weird to think what they could have gotten away with.
Yeah.
So that's all I have for the Titanic.
Wow.
Shabam!
Wow.
So do you think that it's just a coincidence? Or do you think that it's a possibility of an insurance scam gone wrong?
To me, there's too many variables to say that it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
There's just too many things that,
maybe it wasn't as sketchy as the conspiracy claims, but I feel like there was a bit of sketchiness somewhere.
Yes.
Something is weird.
Yeah.
The Californian with the empty, no passengers and extra blankets and sweaters trips me out.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, I was like, that just screams that it's a setup.
Yeah.
Which, shows that they didn't want people to die. They wanted to save the people.
Right.
But they screwed up and clearly didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because I believe the person on the Californian that was supposed to be, like, doing communications fell asleep. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get, like, the SOS.
Well, and the thing is even if, no matter how good you plan it, you're not going to know exactly what the ship's going to be or the ship's going to do because it's a big ship. It's in there. You're not going to know which iceberg it hits and what damage it would do.
This is true, too.
So
this is, like, as much as I love this theory, I do have to say, like, wouldn't there have had to have been a backup plan? Because do you know for a fact you're going to find an iceberg out there to ram? Mm-hmm. Or to sink the ship?
Right.
How else were you going to sink the ship? If that was the plan, you think there would have been, like, an explosion on the ship or something that you could have controlled.
Right.
Instead of, well, we hope we find an iceberg. If not, then we're just going to go to New York.
Yeah.
That is something that is questionable about the theory, like, but it's still interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Moving on. We have the moon landing was faked. Dun, dun, dun. So a lot of people think that the moon landing in 1969 was fake, and that we didn't actually make it to the moon at all. Instead, it was on a stage with effects and actors. Feeling rushed to, like, make it to the moon, they decided to fake the landing instead. They actually tested this on an episode of Fact or Faked. I don't know if you watched that, did you? Okay, must have just been Dad and I. They tested a lot of theories on this because so many people do believe that the moon landing was faked. So they tested it on Fact or Faked. But so, reasons why people think this, okay? The flag waving. People claim that during the live broadcast, viewers could clearly see the American flag waving and fluttering as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin planted it. Curious. Okay. Now, NASA claimed that the flag was stored in, like, a tube, like, rolled up. And so, like, the rippled effect is what caught, like, what happened when they opened it up to place it. That's why it looks like it's waving, was just the material unfolding. Right? Okay. So that's NASA's explanation. Or other people think that it's just from, putting the pole in the moon. Like, that, like, vibration would kind of make it move so that it looked like it was blowing in the wind. That's what people say. Okay. But conspiracy theorists still think it's odd that it looks like it's moving. Okay.
Right.
Lack of an impact crater. Now, I hadn't heard about this until I started doing this outline. Theory goes, had NASA actually landed on the moon, there would be, like, a blast crater underneath the lunar module where it landed, right? On any video or photograph of the landings, like, no crater can be seen. It's almost like it was placed there. Instead, it doesn't look like, like a piece of machinery landed on the moon.
Okay.
Let's see. NASA claims that the module required significantly less thrust in the low gravity conditions than it would have had on Earth. And the difference in the surface of the moon makes it possible that a crater wouldn't have been created.
Okay.
I don't take that explanation. I think that's whatever. I will say about this conspiracy, I don't know what to think on this. I don't really have an opinion on this. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was faked. I don't think it wasn't faked. I don't have a thought on this. So it's just curious.
Let's see. This is another one I've never heard of.
Oh my God! So many people think that this is. So many people think that this is.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Did you watch the moon? You were very young.
I was like 4.
4.
If I did,
you don't remember it. Okay. Another reason why people think it's faked, okay? Multiple light sources. Multiple light sources in the footage suggest that it was studio lights placed around the area, right? To show a variety of lighting. Clearly the sun would be the only light source, so the shadows should run parallel to one another. The astronauts' shadows, right? But this was not the case. During the moon landing, videos and photographs clearly show that the shadows fall in different directions. Which, if you have one light source, that's odd to me.
Right.
Now, NASA's explanation. NASA has blamed uneven landscape on different shadows, with bumps and hills on the moon's surface causing the differences. I think that's a bullshit answer.
Yeah. It sounds like they're just trying to make something up.
I don't know. That just sounds like a bullshit answer. Because there's a rocky, uneven thing, it's going to run a different way. I don't think that's correct. But who knows? What do I know? Like I said, I don't really have an opinion on this one. What else? Unexplained object. In some of the images, there's a reflection in the astronaut's helmet. It seems to be, like, floating or hanging in the image. Many people think that it's a studio light caught in the reflection. Others think it's maybe a satellite, but the item has, like, not really been identified. And this is kind of the picture here. So you can see the astronaut, the reflection, obviously the other astronaut taking the picture, and it's this up here. That would be up here, reflecting on the thing.
Right.
And people say it kind of looks like this, like a studio light. Or something else. Hey, maybe it's E.T. I have no idea. Maybe it's a Transformer.
Yeah.
A Decepticon? I don't know.
Maybe.
It's interesting that there is something here. And, I mean, I guess technically this could have been edited, but I think this picture's been around for decades.
Right.
And you can see something in the reflection.
Right.
So I find that a little less... let's see, lack of stars in the footage and photographs adds to this story. Like, a lot of the photos and video, like, look like this.
Mm-hmm.
Where it doesn't look like there's stars or anything, which you'd kind of think that you'd be able to see stars.
Yeah.
I think, who knows, I don't know. I've never been to the moon. The slow motion walking and jumping is thought to be slowed down, and people suggest that they're actually on cables in that footage. So, you know, like how the lack of gravity jump thing, that's one of the things they tested on Fact or Faked. They had, like, cables, and they had, like, different, like, shoe things to help them jump weird. And I believe they kind of got a decent result for just, like, making it look like they were slow motion or whatever. If they were to do the cable, I think that was more difficult because it looked like they were being yanked up instead of jumping and falling.
Right.
It had to look a little bit more graceful.
Right.
Than some of the attempts to recreate it.
Right.
But some people don't like how the slow motion looks. They think it looks fake. There's also a rock with a perfect C on it that people think it was a prop that was accidentally placed wrong. And that's the picture. And you see how it looks like it has a C? People think that that's like a prop that should have been, like, because props are labeled, so it should have been placed the other way. I don't know. It could just be a crack. I have no idea. But it does a pretty perfect C.
Yeah.
But, who knows? What does the C stand for? I don't know.
Cassie, now we know where you're from.
Oh my god, I'm from the moon?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Moonchild.
You know what's really funny is every time I think of, like, the moon landing, I think of that Even Stevens song. Do you remember that musical episode of Even Stevens? You probably didn't watch it. Sure. Ren, like, does a song. She's like, we went to the moon in 1969. No?
No.
Oh my god. Someone better know what I'm talking about or I'm gonna sound insane. Alright. Okay, so there are literally so many other theories and conspiracies about the moon landing, and Stanley Kubrick is tied to a lot of these theories. He's the director of The Shining, by the way.
Okay.
So he's a pretty interesting guy. He's an interesting fella. But many people think that he directed the fake moon landing. That's what his connection is to it. Mm-hmm. And in The Shining, God, I watched this dreadful documentary on The Shining. I thought it was going to be about The Shining, but it was craziness. But some of his, like, hardcore fans dove deep into The Shining and were like, this is a clue for this, and this is a clue for this, and they think that he placed clues within The Shining movie that tell the world that he helped fake the moon landing. Like the kid has, like, a Apollo whatever shirt on at one point, and there's other things. I will never make you watch that documentary because I wasted my life away on that documentary. But, a lot of people just connect him to faking it.
Do it.
So what are your thoughts on the fake moon landing?
I don't know. That's just...
Me too. I have no idea on this one. And, Buzz Aldrin gets really pissed off when people mention that it was fake. Stuff like that. So it's like, I have no idea. I don't have an opinion on this one. I just don't know.
Right.
I don't know. And I think that some people say, like, if you have like a really good telescope that you can see the flag on the moon. I think that's, like, I think I read that online. Someone can tell me if that's incorrect. But so that would, more prove that it actually happened. Or unless they just sent it up.
But would it still be there after all these years? What if it gets, what if...
Climate's different.
The climate's different and...
There's, anything. I don't know.
Decomposes or it goes away.
I don't know what it would do on the moon. I don't know what the climate's like.
Yeah.
The gravity's obviously... it's not, Earth. So it might just stay. It might just stay in that condition.
Yes, I've never heard that
I don't know. Not a scientist. Not an astronaut. Just a person reading about conspiracy theories. Alright. I think this is our last one. Okay? And it's like kind of a fun one. Okay, kind of. I mean, it involves death, so it can't be that fun. But I'm a dark person, okay? So this is a conspiracy about Avril Lavigne. Have you heard any conspiracies about Avril Lavigne?
No.
Okay, you know who Avril Lavigne is. I know you do.
Yes.
Okay, so this theory is how the real Avril is actually dead, and that she has been replaced by a lookalike named Melissa to keep her brand and fame going. Ever heard about this?
No.
All right. So basically, people think that Avril, the original one, you know, like the skater boy girl, right? She wasn't into the idea, like, of fame, right? She got into it, and then, like, she didn't want to have to go to the red carpets. She didn't want to, like, deal with the paparazzi and stuff like that. So in turn, they hired Melissa to do her red carpet events or her other press for her, which, you know, people claim a lot of celebrities do this. I don't know if that's accurate. I'm not a celebrity, but people claim that they hire lookalikes so the paparazzi will follow them.
Right.
And things like that, okay? So, but when Avril passed away, the record label didn't want to lose her fame, so they hired Melissa to step in and become the new Avril. Whoa.
So that could be the difference in
you got it already. Yep. That's why we went from the complicated Avril to the girlfriend.
Yes.
Avril. The whole makeover, the new music sound, and all of part of the transition into Melissa's version of Avril Lavigne. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
So that means Nickelback is married to a...
No, they got a divorce.
Oh, did they? Oh, shoot, where have I been? Okay, sorry. I was going to say...
I think her and Chad Kroeger got divorced. Okay. So, reasons. People claim her voice has changed. And it kind of has. I've listened to all of her music, her old stuff and her new stuff. Her voice started more raspy and deep, I would say, and these days it's a little bit more polished and higher pitched. Granted, auto-tune could be to blame. You never know with today's technology. Same goes for her interviews. People think that she's totally changed, and you know, she was like this rocker, like quiet, I just want to play music girl, and now she's like a bubbly and like, oh hey you, I don't like your girlfriend, right? Type of different person.
Yeah, see, I've never heard that.
Okay, now I think this is a funny one because I kind of think it's just bullshit. But it's cool to think about. It's a nice conspiracy to like debate about. I just think she probably aged, got a makeover, maybe had some work done, and just like it was the evolution of like her changing her image.
From teenager into adult to...
I just think it was... Because how many other celebrities have done that? Have changed things? But some people claim that this is a picture here of, like, the comparison to Avril and Melissa. They think that, like, her nose is different, the space is here and everything. And that could be edited for this picture. She could have had work done, or you know what? She could have aged. People's faces age and change, you know what I mean? Because they think that the people that believe this conspiracy believe that they look close, but not identical. I think she just changed her image. But it's an interesting conspiracy theory. Yeah. With how, like, music industry and stuff is, there's a chance that she, like, had her, you know, skater boy days and everything, and then when she went to do her next album or whatever... however many albums after that, the record label was like, that's not selling anymore. We need you to be upbeat and bubbly and blonde. Yeah. Do you know how often that happens in the music industry? It does. That's not like... I don't know. I just thought it would be a fun little Avril Lavigne died one to end this conspiracy theory podcast. No thoughts on it? You probably agree with me.
I don't know. I think I agree with you. I'm kind of just...
It's just a funny one.
Yeah.
And like to say, like, her interviews changed. She got older and she got more comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Melissa. We saw her in concert at the mall.
We did.
Oh my god. That was before she was like Avril Lavigne, though. Yeah. She was like barely anything. Yeah. That was a big deal. All right. So what did you think about these conspiracies I shared with you?
makes it just curious in your brain and kind of go, whoa, and...
Right? Which one was your favorite? Did you have a favorite? Let's see. We covered the Forever 27 Club. We covered the Mandela Effect. We covered the Titanic conspiracies. We covered the moon landing. And, of course, Avril Lavigne.
I think it would almost have to be the Mandela Effect.
They are trippy.
Just because there's so many of those that I remember different.
Yes.
Compared, like I hadn't known about the moon landing, so it couldn't really be.
But
there's so many in there that makes it just so.
Mm-hmm. I really do like the Mandela Effects, and like I said, there's a million other of them. So many different Mandela Effects.
Right.
But I'm really partial to the Titanic one. I don't know why. I just find it fascinating. I watch videos and like listen to podcasts about it like all the time, and it's like the same information over and over again. I just find it fascinating. The idea could be total bullshit and totally inaccurate, but I find it interesting.
Right.
Why did the Californian have extra blankets and sweaters? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, lovelies. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Mom, thank you for being my guest star.
Yes, no problem. It was fun.
So if you guys think that I should introduce my mom to more conspiracy theories or other topics with my mom, please let us know in the comments section below. We would love to hear your guys' thoughts on these conspiracy theories as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next Chit Chat with Cass.
Bye, everyone.